And welcome to another edition of State of the Eagles. David Moulton, Athletic Director Ken Cavanaugh. We haven't done this in a while.
No,
and
catch-up time.
A lot has taken place. All right, we have to put winter to bed, but to do so, well, in my business, Ken, they say don't bury the lead. So we'll start with men's basketball because obviously the regular season came to an end, but also you had a coaching change. So fifth consecutive 20-win season. And after 5 years, the Joe Dooley era moves on to East Carolina, and you promoted from within. Talk about that.
Well, first of all, we are thankful for what Coach Dooley did over the last 5 years, and we wish Joe and Max and Tanya all the best up in East Carolina. And in turn, it's been really, anytime you have an opportunity to promote from within, that's always a warm feeling. It means first and foremost that you're successful because you don't promote people that aren't. And secondly, that you've created, basically you built your own. And so with Michael, he's been here now 7 years, certainly started off with Andy and built that 2 years into 5 more years under Joe and a lot of success. And we just felt it was time.
Well, and really, if you think back 5 years, like when Joe came on board, you insisted that both Marty Richter and Michael Fly stay a part of his staff. And now when you think 5 years later, you know, that was in athletic, you know, circles, that's something that you could be criticized for, but you have to think that that's played out really well, that the continuity that you insisted on is now paying dividends 5 years later.
And we feel good about that. I mean, it started with, you know, it would have been a really empty feeling on my part if we had individuals who helped us get to the pinnacle at that time, and still is our benchmark and it's still historical, to have those individuals without an opportunity 3 or 4 weeks after we had gone to the Sweet 16. And in turn, as I spoke to Joe and all the candidates at that time, I just simply explained, listen, I'm doing you a favor. These are 3 great people who helped us have great success. Andy doesn't have right now room on his staff out there, and in turn I was up front before they even interviewed the final stage with myself and Dr. Bradshaw that this was the ground rules, and everybody understood. So it wasn't like I surprised them and said, oh, you got the job, here's what you need to do. And as was witnessed, we continue to have success. And first Joey, for his own reasons, he went out to USC to join Andy, and then Marty got the opportunity. He's done a great job of FSW, and then we were fortunate that Michael just continued to grow and continue to produce part of our overall success with his recruiting and other things he did behind the scene. And then as you go back now and analyze it, he grew himself into this position. If this had been 2 years, you know, Marty was finalist. Michael wasn't even ready to be a finalist back then, or to be the interim coach that Marty became. So it's been fun, but you know, for those, we know there's no exact science in anything when you hire a recruit, but we feel real confident. And in turn, any individual that's been a great head coach had to get a start at some point, and we hope that Michael's our great coach for a long period.
You've had great success in your career at hiring particularly the highest profile of coaches wherever you have been in your career. This is obviously a high profile hire here. What specifically did you see in Michael Fly, particularly in the last couple of years, which made you think, obviously, hey, if this job opens up and he's here, I'm hiring him?
I think it comes to the total fit. You know, certainly felt confident that he understood enough about the game of basketball and could teach it. You know, the X's and O's and being able to do things on game night, he's not done yet, but I think he's prepared for it well because of what Joe and Andy and others have done preparing him in that regard. And I just think his total personality was a good fit for our current student athletes, more importantly, to continue to recruit athletes that we would like here at FGCU. And he was a good fit for our community, both internally and externally, in terms of what we need at FGCU. And he's been well received. This first week, he's been everywhere. And at the same time, we look forward to continue to building external bridges for us.
And if by chance you don't follow Coach Fly on Twitter, I would advise you to do so. One thing that I like that he does is he pretty much sums up the day, you know, late afternoon, early evening, and lets all fans and boosters and everybody know, hey, here's kind of what we did today, you know, talk to you tomorrow. And, you know, it's important. I mean, people want to feel a part of the program. They want to be able to feel as if they can touch the program. Twitter can help you do that.
Yeah, no, Michael has been very engaged in that regard, and I think it certainly plays well with recruits who, social media is such a high part of their life, but, a lot of our own fans are into that, and anything we can do to make people feel informed and educated and interested in FGCU basketball, and in some ways he may say something about another sport that maybe they follow basketball, but he's going to make a mention of another team that had success. That's great too.
So 6 consecutive 20-win seasons now for the men's program. They lost the ASUN final, obviously, to Lipscomb, got bounced in the NIT. The women this year were able to do the double. They did the regular season title, but they also did the postseason championship going through Jacksonville, and for the second time in their history, winning an NCAA tournament game. And not only that, you and everybody got a chance to go out west to Stanford. I mean, that's women's college basketball royalty to win out there.
Yeah, the remarkable job that Carl continued to do. I think, he's like 436 and 85 or something along those lines, which, to be in a group where the only people with 80% winning percentages are Gina Orium at UConn, Tara, who we played out at Stanford, Kim Mulkey at Baylor, and Carl. It was neat to see he and Tara interact out there after we beat Missouri in a great win for our program. And then, we just ran into too much height that we're hitting threes, but, we hit 17 threes. We basically we recaptured what we consider to be our record at the most threes in a season. And it was interesting, as Carl alluded to yesterday in a discussion, that Villanova won the national championship and they broke the record on the men's side. So we're in a scenario where as we continue to gain success, now we want to get to the point we want to get to a Sweet 16, and it's nice that Carl continues to build that. We've had 2 wins in the opening round against 2 good opponents in Oklahoma State and now Missouri, and look forward to building upon it.
And you rattled off some impressive numbers for Carl individually coaching. How about this? The FGCU women's basketball program is one of only 4 in the country to have 8 consecutive seasons of 25 or more wins. The other 3 you may have heard of: UConn, Notre Dame, and Baylor.
Yeah, pretty good company.
That is very good company.
And on a combined situation, we're equally proud about the fact that I believe it's for 6 straight years now, there's only 4 schools, Duke, Louisville, St. Mary's, and FGCU, that have won 20 games or more combined, each team, for those last 6 years.
So the men, they're one of like 24 programs to have 6 straight 20-win seasons. We got the women's 25 or more, they're one of only 4. But the 2 together are one of only 4 schools?
That's correct.
That's not bad.
Pretty good.
All right, moving forward. Swimming. Well, when you talk championships around here, you have to talk swimming.
And diving.
Yes.
Because our divers did real well at the CCSA championship, and we had multiple medal winners in that regard as well. 4 straight championships now, 9 out of 10, really 9 out of 11 in our existence. And the 2 years that we didn't win, if we hadn't got disqualified in relays, we would have won then too. So Dave Rollins did an excellent job taking over from Neil Studd, 2 straight championships, 2 straight coaches of the year, and working with the rest of his staff and our team. It's exciting that we continue to have success. We had Tina Elmgren make it to the NCAA, so we maintained our streak of having participants in the NCAA championship. And we're in a scenario where we're looking forward to next year and trying to go back and score more points.
Before we put the winter sports season to bed, however, there are 2 things that I know that you and the university are very proud of. One is your community service, but also, academically, you guys seem to be every semester, if not every year, just doing a little bit better even than the year before. And I know that pretty much the end of the winter sports season is the academic honors luncheon.
Yeah, it's an honor program that we started several years ago. Anybody who has a 3.5 cumulative grade point average, and they have to be here at least 2 semesters. So they could have come in as a freshman or first-time transfer and got a 4.0, and we certainly value that. But if you have to be here at least 2 semesters at FGCU, and then we will honor you. And it's a great day. The president's there. It's an opportunity to say thank you to the cream of the crop that are helping us produce what was a 3.27 grade point point average again in the fall compared to the university's 3.02 for the undergraduate body. We've now done that 17 straight semesters, and it's a stated goal of ours. We need to be value added in everything we do, community service, doing more than just getting their hours to graduate, which in itself is a tremendous thing that FGCU does. You got to have a 4.0 and you have not got your 80 hours in when you start as a freshman. You don't get your diploma until you get that done. And Dr. McTarnigan did a wonderful job starting that as a basically a tradition and an expectation. And for us, we certainly look at our academics, and we know that we love that Chris Sale's doing well. And although he beat my Yankees the other night, I was happy for that one day. There's going to be very few individuals that can leave FGCU as an athlete and make enough money in their sport. The vast majority of them are going to have that degree, and part of getting a degree is getting good grades and getting toward graduation. And collectively put that together, and we're really proud that we had, I think, about 62 that we wound up honoring this past February.
Now we have 7 sports. I mean, darn near half of the sports that you play are played in the spring, so don't want to give short shrift to any of them. Let's start with beach volleyball, and if my memory serves me correctly, early in the season, didn't they get their first win over a ranked opponent?
Yeah, I can't remember who, it may have been, I think it was FIU that we beat. We definitely beat TCU, which is a Power 5 team. Last I knew, we were 10-8. We're getting ready for a home stretch going into the last weekend of the conference season, and then next week we'll have the conference championship. So right now, Beach is under the direction of Matt, who does both indoor, Coach Botsford, and Beach, and it has Chris Sweat doing a great job with them. We don't have any scholarships. So we're competing against these programs, especially the football schools that have the full 5 scholarships. So it's really great to see, and we're looking forward trying to generate additional resources to give them some scholarships and create even more opportunities.
You know, I try to pay attention to all the press releases that you guys send out, and you do send out a lot of them, by the way. Men's and women's golf. Early season, tremendous individual and team success, some of the highest finishes that men's and women's golf have ever had.
Really are, and looking forward to the opportunity to compete at conference next week up in Georgia. Both teams are on the same course. They started that a year ago, and the winner gets to go to the NCAAs. But on the men's side last year, actually 4 teams made it. So 4 out of 7 made it. We were not one of them, but we finished as high as second in the past, and we look forward to competing and maybe not winning the championship, although that's our goal, but to be in the mix that we can make the NCAAs. And on the women's side, same thing. They get a chance for the first time for either program to go to the NCAAs, and we've had 3 individuals on the men's side. We've not had any yet for the women, so if we don't make it as a team, it'd be great to see somebody make it as an individual. And
I think it was a co-medalist on the women's side last year, lost in a tiebreaker.
Yeah, Megan Blondin, who was one of our finalists for our Eagle Scholar Athlete Award, wound up doing that and got beat, like I said, in a playoff.
All right, to tennis. Last year you hosted both championships. You had the men who ended up winning the postseason championship. The women won the regular season title but lost in a heartbreaker in the final. You hosted both tennis championships. I don't believe you get to do that again this year, but how are the tennis programs doing?
They're doing well as we're now getting toward the end. We have 1 weekend left, and then next week it's actually up in Jacksonville at UNF, who has been the other team in the league that we've pretty much balanced at the top. Last year, UNF's men won the regular season. We had won it the 2 previous years, and then we knocked them off in that epic rain delay, 3 a.m. in the war victory, and then won the championship the next day against Lipscomb. And the women, on the other hand, won the regular season and beaten UNF in a really good match, and then they got us on a 4-3 championship for the tournament. So we're hoping that the women can get their first chance to go to the dance and the guys can go back again.
Softball and baseball. Last year it was the baseball team who got off to the red hot, I should say, start as high as number 9 in the country. This year, I didn't know if the softball team was going to lose. Yeah. I mean, the first 3 weeks of the year, they didn't lose a game.
13-0 to start.
And Dave Darros' squad, you know, he said this was going to be a bounce-back year, and they finished second in the postseason tournament last year. But, you know, in a really good softball conference, FGCU right now is not taking a back seat really to anybody.
No, right there in the middle. There's so much competition. Last year, the entire ASUN finished 5th. in the country, ahead of, I believe, the ACC, one of the Power 5 conferences. And then right now we're ranked 7th or 8th. So again, showing our mettle collectively. We're in this area, I think we're like 29-12. We last night had a huge comeback to win the second game at FAU, and 2 games that went extra innings, in a position where as we get forward, hopefully we're in the top 50 in the RPI, and if we don't win conference, we have a chance to see many teams go from the ASUN, and if we could get it at large, that would be awesome.
Well, and we have to emphasize that in softball. I mean, the ASUN, I think 3 years ago, got 3 teams
Correct.
in, and probably would have gotten at least 2 teams in last year if it wasn't for FGCU. You guys were the giant killer in the conference tournament. You probably cost the conference 1, maybe even 2 at-larges.
Yeah, we beat Lipscomb and Kennesaw, and they were right on the bubble, and not that we were disappointed doing
right.
so. But USC Upstate's been the flagship team. They're in their last year in the conference, and we hope they don't go away with the trophy.
On the men's side, the baseball team, the start this year was very good. I mean, it wasn't quite the historic start of last year, but nationally ranked already this year. RPI, it's been in the 20s, it's in the 30s right now. Conference season is underway, and this team is, considering what you lost, which was the heart of your lineup and your ace pitcher, the fact that this program is basically picking up where they left off last year, I think shows where the program is.
Coach Toe, as Coach Deros has been doing as our only coach, is doing another wonderful job. He's also does double duty as the pitching coach, so he gets on the pitching coach when we don't do as well, but he's been doing really well this year. The 1-0 win against Miami was probably one of the best baseball games I've seen in a long time. Evan Lombard pitched 8 terrific innings. Kenton came in and got the save. We had clutch hitting. Eli Lovell, who had not been on the bench, had been starting, sat that game on the bench, comes in and gets a key hit, and now he's back into the starting lineup and doing really well amongst many hitters. So it's been really good to see. We've been scoring a lot of runs, but the key to any success in the postseason, as we all know, is pitching, and our pitching is doing really well. And we've got a lot of big games left, not just in conference, but our midweek games against USF, and we got to still play FIU and FAU a couple more times. So if we can get those wins and get those midweek wins, and hopefully we'll be in line for an at-large in addition to trying to win the automatic again. And
I think also the Hurricanes are on your schedule a couple more times,
correct.
And you've got to go across the alley. So some big midweek games. If you've never come out to Swanson Stadium before, if you're going to come out for one series the rest of the year, Stetson comes to you in, I think, 3 weeks. And they've got an ace pitcher who will be pitching on Friday night, who is one of the 5 best pitchers in all of college baseball. Some may think he's the best pitcher in the state of Florida, which is saying something because the Gators returned their aces from a year ago when they won the national championship. I mean, it's going to be a special series, and I know you have a very soft spot for baseball. The Stetson FGCU baseball series here coming up in a few weeks is going to be a dandy. Yeah,
Logan Gilbert is phenomenal, and Chris Sale, obviously we're very proud. You look at Corey Kluber, who's won 2 Cy Youngs. There's just been so many great players that have played in the ASUN in recent years.
Don't forget my Mets guy, Jacob deGrom. Come on, you can mention him.
I
it's
forgot.
Okay.
He grew his hair a lot longer than when he used to play for the Hatters. But,
he's cut it now. He's cut it now.
And it also was the interesting thing when he guessed on an inside pitch and hit a home run off of Chris in our first ever conference tournament game, and then when he hit one last year for the Mets, they went all the way back to the replay for the ASUN. But yeah, I did forget about Jacob deGrom.
So it'll be a special series, and both softball and baseball very much in the mix, not just to win the conference, but also they're in such good position right now that both are seriously challenging. If the tournaments were to start today, they both could get at-larges. So we put winter to bed. You hired a new men's basketball coach. We talked about the academic honors. We just went through 7 teams. Am I missing anything? No,
it's a pretty crazy time of the year and a fun time of the year. And we're also going into the home stretch at the end of the winter. We're looking to defend our all sports trophies. So we've won 3 straight total all sports trophies. We're trying to shoot for our 4th. And on the women's side, same thing. There's a men's and a women's trophy, and we've won the women's trophy 3 straight years and currently in first place in those standings. And looking forward to, if we get our 4th, it would also be our 5th and 6th year in both instances. So not that we don't want the guys to come up, but from where the standings are right now, those 2 first places are what we're trying to hold on to.
If you win it a certain number of years in a row, do they rename the trophy?
I don't know if they rename it. They're already talking about trying to change the criteria.
Imagine that. Imagine that. All right, that's the state of the Eagles here in mid-April, and we'll have at least one more edition. We'll have to put the spring season to bed, and hopefully we'll have a couple more, because that means that we've got a few of the spring teams that are in the NCAA tournament. For Ken Cavanaugh, I'm David Moulton. Thanks for watching State of the Eagles.
Wings up, God bless, and go Eagles.